Good morning to all of you. Greetings to the stakeholders. First, I want
Recording in progress.
Apologize on behalf of the remaining of the Bureau. They're finishing a meeting with the Group for Equity, and we've been trying to meet here and there with some specific groups to be able to go over the main issues. Today is the day when we will discuss, for example, next steps based on what we have been able to capture and collect. We still need to discuss Section 1, which is scope, objectives, and use of terms, very important part of our text. So with regard to what we were able to go, I don't know if the text that is has circulated already. You will see that we have populated to an extent that it's maybe difficult to read, but it's, I think it's a welcome development that we have so many additions to the text that the Bureau proposed. We have a sense as Bureau that the text has been used as a platform for discussion, so as a basis. To that extent, it served the purpose that we were asked to produce, triggering this eagerness to contribute, to improve. So all of this has been incorporated so far except for Section 1 into the text. So what you have in front of you is a result of all of these contributions. And as you can see, there are still some major issues whether or not we go into the categorization of users, after you categorize them, under what terms you're going to allow them, or if you need to have those terms. So those divergent views are still looming in the text, so that's why you see so many square brackets in one direction in order to indicate we're still not ready. So we have been, and then this, at the end of this morning, we will finish this road to capture these ideas, without prejudice to having further ideas in our IGWG 4. But the main idea is that we were able to listen to the membership. They would own this text. It's no longer a Bureau, it's a Bureau enriched text, so it's a Bureau plus membership, so that it's very important that it has evolved into something that is even difficult to see here and there where was the Bureau text, which is, I think, desirable to mix, just use this platform, and now we will have to proceed to finding landing zones, accommodation for all of the sections, and for that we will plan some work informally during the intersessional period, a very short period where many things in health are happening, including the COP and MOP of FCTC and the protocol in November. So, but we're still going to hold some informal discussions, and you will be invited as stakeholders to these discussions. And we will then see what we can do by the end of the year, and that still has to be discussed with the membership today under the agenda item next step. So I'd like to open the floor to you so you could maybe appreciate what has been done over the whole week, and also have comments on what we were going to do this morning and then during the intersessional period until December, or any other matter that you find relevant for our discussions on pandemic preparedness, prevention, and response, but also more specific PABS system. The floor is open. Yes, it's the representative Helen Clark and the former head of the panel. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I'm making this statement on behalf of the independent panel on pandemic preparedness and response. Congratulations for the work this week. We are concerned, however, to learn about ongoing efforts to make bilateral deals on health security. The template agreement we and many of you have no doubt seen includes conditions requiring countries to share specimens and sequences of pathogens with epidemic potential within a matter of days. In our view, these bilateral agreements undermine the multilateral system. They will bypass the WHO and the foundations of solidarity and equity we have been trying to build here. The template offers no guarantees of access to countermeasures and gives commercial dominance to one country. It threatens health security, data security, and ultimately national sovereignty. We fully understand that some countries will consider entering into these agreements. However, we cannot stress enough the importance of a multilateral approach to pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. We underscore the importance of and express our support for a successful, financed pandemic agreement that comes into force and is implemented as soon as possible. Together with implementation of the amended IHR, we can have a safer world. When pathogens know no borders, multilateralism is the only answer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Although I'm not inclined to make comments on any initiative that is not those directly related to the discussion in IGWG, we do have our radar put on all possibilities in order to strengthen multilateralism, not weaken it, in order to promote solidarity and cooperation, especially in health, because we know that one piece of the planet that is not inserted in this system will have the possibility of causing more problems than solutions, and that's why we are eager to see if we could all be together in this, and this is still our wish to create a system that could be perceived as something that is not only beneficial, but also would promote collective security in terms of health. What else?
Leibniz Institute.
There's another person. Okay. I now offer the floor to the Leibniz Institute.
Good morning, and thank you, Co-Chair. We don't have any comments on the draft. As you've indicated, it's still very much a work in progress. But we did want to thank the Secretariat for the document they sent parties or member states and stakeholders earlier this week, the overview of the current pathogen genomics data sharing landscape document, which we found very helpful. However, we did note, and probably due to compressed time schedules, there was actually not a quantitative assessment of pathogen databases. And so we have taken the liberty to refer to an article on pathogen databases in the peer-reviewed literature in the journal Viruses by Rich et al. In 2023. And we have created through that publication a non-redundant list of virus-specific databases that has yielded at least 124 databases. We're in the process through a wonderful student here, Srinidhi Nidhi, working on her master's, whether these databases require registration, data access agreements, and other properties that have been discussed by member states, but this is still a work in progress. However, we have been able to assess how many of these databases still exist since 2023. And over the past 2 years, actually 48 of these databases, or nearly 40%, are gone. They are no longer available. They are not online. That data resource has been lost. They have died a scientific death. And this is really symbolic of the sustainability of databases, which is the loss of public funding for projects that usually run between 3 and 5 years. And in fact, one of the databases here at DSMZ, called the Entero database, which has pathogens that give you tummy upset, was actually in danger of falling away completely until the German Center for Infection Research was able to provide support funding. Although more recently, we have had challenges, even with that new funding, of hosting the huge volumes of data, and we are now collaborating with Chinese partners to create a mirrored database between the UK, China, and Germany to preserve this important resource. So our take-home messages for member states today is we would really like to provide quantitative analysis of the pathogen database landscape, and we really beg member states to recognize the sustainability challenges that pathogen data resources face. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the CVMN.
Thank you, Co-Chair. We at DCVMN would like to compliment distinguished members, Bureau and Secretariat for covering such a long path in less than a week and reaching current status of the draft annex, which though is still work in progress. With full reverence to the member states, reading the on-screen text as on 6 November 1630, the definition of participating manufacturers as stated under A, operation of the PABS system, clause 1b, and other participants in 1c, we would like to better understand whether a participating manufacturer or other participant will compulsorily need to agree to legally binding conditions and sign a contract with WHO as a precondition to access PABS materials and/or information, and that no other entity will have access to such materials and/or information to develop and/or manufacture the VTD countermeasures. Thank you for your attention, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Rajinder. With regard to your question, this is, as I was trying to give some flavor of what still the stage of our discussions and negotiation, and we haven't seen yet on a first reading basis the first section that speaks of the terms that we have to define, including participants that are manufacturers or participating manufacturers. But there are still diverging views whether or not each and every participant should at least be identified or registered, and that means you would have to go through some sort of a contract on terms with terms that would discipline your access. So first answer for your question, yes. Not only manufacturers, but all participants somehow would, whether we differentiate them and the terms, that is what precisely we're still beginning to discuss, how best to do that for at least with one main purpose, to have as many participants as possible, but not allowing the system to be somehow vulnerable to participations that could be on any way predatory or deviate from the purpose of public health and common good. But the other side of the answer is we still have to see whether there is agreement for that, and there are some that are questioning the possibility of what has been said, making these conditions a precondition to, or these terms, a precondition for access. So I would be wrong in saying that this is something that is peaceful in the discussion. This is still yet to be agreed upon, knowing that all of the proposals so far go in the direction of creating a system that is very attractive to manufacturers, developers, designers, academia, individual researchers, and for that mimicking what you have in other, for example, educational platforms, at least knowing who you are and having a minimum commitment with regard to, for example, biosafety, biosecurity with relation to samples and with relation to the information, the use of that information for public health use. So those proposals on the table. Whether or not making those conditions would, in a way, curtail innovation and research and access to information. Others claim that that is in no way is going to stand in the way of promoting research and access to information. In any case, this is still, Rajinder, pretty much an open issue yet at this stage, and we look forward to the discussions on terms, including participating manufacturers, to further establish that. Although Article 12 already mentions that at least for that category, yes, they will have to sign a contract with WHO. Whether the others will also have to sign a contract and what kind of contract we're talking about, this is still remains open. And now I would like to invite the Pandemic Action Network.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of Pandemic Action Network, 4PAWS, the Panel for a Global Public Health Convention, and Spark Street Advisors, we recognize the good progress on negotiation a PABS annex this week. We are, however, deeply disappointed that the pilot proposed during IGWG 2 to allow relevant stakeholders to observe the negotiations and have formal access to the sessions of IGWG 3 was not confirmed this week, nor action in any way. Across numerous international processes, observer participation in formal sessions has become a standard practice. These arrangements reflect a shared understanding that openness and inclusivity strengthen the legitimacy, accountability, and credibility of intergovernmental negotiations. Allowing observers to follow formal sessions would also ease engagement and level the information baseline for all participants. Greater openness will enhance the quality and efficiency of outcomes, while also strengthening IGWG's legitimacy. We hope that Member States will reconsider this proposal without delay and take action to cement a truly whole-of-society approach. We will publish our full statement online. Now, as Pandemic Action Network, we would like to underline the importance of this multilateral process and of investing in a system that can last, of countries pulling together. The origin story of these negotiations got us here. Every country fighting for themselves became a race to the bottom, and those that suffer were the most vulnerable. We're making a plea for every country negotiating to work for a resilient, equitable, long-term PABS system and to resist efforts to undermine the process. We also call on high-income countries in particular to play their full part in getting to compromise. The status quo does not work. Now is the time to stick together. We cannot afford not to. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your strong message. And with regard to the first part of your message, do know that we still, as we discuss next steps, we still have to ask the membership what path we will go into continuing appreciating the request and also the idea, because it's shared by a good number of delegations that the stakeholders should be associated to our drafting exercise, while others still need some more time for confirmation. So we'll still project that into our deliberations today. So this is not yet, we have not reverted to this yet. We stopped at asking more time for this to be confirmed. But thank you for making the point or reiterating the interest that has been also shared by many delegations in IGWG to associate stakeholders as observers to our discussions. I now invite AIDS Healthcare Foundation Brazil.
Thank you, Co-Chair. We support the statement of the Pandemic Action Network and speak separately to emphasize the following. The pandemic agreement needs the strength of a whole-of-society approach to succeed. Transparency and accountability are essential not only for the legitimacy of the process, but also for the agreement to work in practice. As many of you know or have even experienced in the first hand, its subject matter is especially vulnerable to misinformation and political attacks. This is but one of the reasons why our presence here is so critical. When little access is given, information gaps widen, trust erodes, and essential technical input arrives too late to be useful. Additionally, our capacity to defend the agreement in the court of public opinion is also greatly hindered. There are other reasons as well. Many relevant stakeholders here are the voice and shield of vulnerable populations, as well as public health policies and programs designed to protect them. We are also technical implementers who will bridge the gap between text and realities on the ground. Additionally, when this agreement returns to countries, we, together with many of you, will be its champions, those who can explain it, defend it, and help mobilize support for signature and implementation at the national level. Inviting our presence at key moments improves the flow and accuracy of information, lessens the administrative burden on the Bureau and Secretariat, and ensures that technical feedback can constructively shape these discussions. It also allows us to offer higher quality input because that input is grounded in a clear understanding of the issues at hand. 30 minutes each morning speaking to a semi-empty room is simply not a good use of our time or resources. We're not asking for unhindered access, but greater opportunity to meaningfully contribute to this member state effort to deliver an equitable outcome for the billions of people represented by you in this room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. South Center, please, to be followed by Third World Network.
Thank you, and good morning to you all. We'd also extend our congratulations to all member states for the work that has been done so far. We view that the process has been very adequate, and in particular, allowing all member states to provide their textual suggestions into the text. We think that's a good practice. Creating a PABS system that puts on equal footing the rapid sharing of materials and sequence information together with the rapid, timely, fair, and equitable benefit sharing will be in the premise of what is the pandemic agreement aimed to achieve. In particular, it will support providing more legal certainty for all participants in the PABS system. So we look forward to continue to work together with you to promote an understanding why participation in a multilateral, fair PABS system will be an improvement over the status quo. With regards to discussions for today, just like to make a suggestion with regards to looking at the terms that will be discussed, that other considerations may be important, in particular with regards to the definition for affordable pricing. We see that there is one potential note that specifies manufacturing costs plus a percentage. We think that that could be an important element for terms. And secondly, a discussion between what could be considered commercial use, which might be important to specify in addition to considering what kind of user, if there are users that are for commercial purpose versus non-commercial. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. The Third World Network, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. We would like to congratulate IGWG for the work undertaken this week. We see a lot of proposals in the text. Several of them are welcoming. We also take note of the comments mentioned on behalf of Honorable Helen Clark. This is particularly, we believe those comments are very important, and this is particularly the reason why WHO needs legal certainty, better legal certainty. If member states need to trust PABS system and contribute specimens and data and samples, legal certainty provided by SMTA and data access agreements, which includes terms of use of those shared materials and information, including benefit sharing conditions, are inevitable. So therefore, we request member states to build accountable network of labs, databases, including a WHO-owned or managed database, developing standard terms and standard contracts and terms of reference to ensure shared materials and information are used responsibly and benefits flow predictably. We just note also the comment made by Lebanese Institute regarding the sustainability of databases. Recently, there were an article in the Stat News regarding the possible funding cuts to the Gen Bank. 2 days ago, another blog piece appeared in Think Global Health, which summarizes the need why a trustworthy database is necessary for finishing pandemic agreement. So we request member states to take note of these concerns and work towards an equitable PABS annex. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much. Medicines, Law and Policy, please.
Good morning, Co-Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. First of all, congratulations on your work, and thank you for sharing the documents, which indeed is getting richer by the day. As many of you, we also woke up to the reporting by Health Policy Watch on the US bilateral initiatives for pathogen data sharing linked to global health financing, which is of great concern and is a threat or maybe a threat to your work. And we just want to go on record to say we fully support the statement made by the independent panel this morning. We look forward to IGWG 4 and to a meaningful involvement of relevant stakeholders in the next session. I wish you a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair, and thank you to all our stakeholders for their valuable input. If I may, Co-Chair, we heard a very good question, I think, from the Developing Countries Vaccine Manufacturers Network about conditions on access and participating manufacturers. be very interested to hear DCVMN's own perspectives on that question as well, if I may. Thank you.
Yes, for that, we still need to allow others to speak, and then we have now 2 more speakers. And then we also identified, and they will have to see with the membership to what extent we're able to hold a broader discussion with not only developing countries, the manufacturers, but also others. This is still something that we're still to entertain as a large exercise. But right now, we're pressed by time, so I would like to ask Médecins Sans Frontières to be followed by European Bioinformatics Institute, and then we'll have to finish. We still need to go through section 1 this morning to see all of the amendments and next steps. Médecins Sans Frontières, please.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Thank you for the opportunity this week for us to participate in the negotiation, at least at the open sessions. And we really appreciate the opportunity to have a chance to discuss with the Bureau about different options for relevant stakeholders' participation, and the daily sharing of the texts as a very good progress, and we hope this to be continued, and the daily briefing of the negotiation. However, we do echo the statement made by other organizations, including PAN and AIDS Care Foundation Brazil, about the limitation of such participation, and to anticipate more information about the further deliberation between member states about what is allowed in the next IGWG in terms of possibility for us to observe the negotiation in the room. Whether the text continue to evolve, we reiterate our call to encourage negotiators really look to establish very clear and strong provisions to operationalize the PABS, and echo the comments made by the independent panel about the danger of a weak PABS allowing other track that could undermine the global solidarity and potential opportunity for us to establish a new system. So we, as MSF, we stand ready to continue supporting this negotiation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as our last speaker that we can accommodate, I invite European Bioinformatics Institute, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. So the European Bioinformatics Institute wishes to provide a clarification on the issue of GenBank and the INSDC, International Nucleotide Sequence Database collaboration sustainability made by the Third World Network. So GenBank is one member of a currently 3-way global collaboration in which the data gathered at any one site are given identifiers that are common across the system, and the data is shared across the system and made permanently available across the system. This is a feature that provides a great deal of sustainability because it means that there's no single point of failure. So if the funding for any one of the databases in the collaboration fails or is disrupted in some way, the other data resources carry on. They have the data and they can carry on providing the services. With our, I mentioned in a statement at the beginning of this week, the INSDC Global Participation Initiative, in which we invite new databases from new parts of the world to come and participate and join as equal members the INSDC. So that will further broaden the sustainability of INSDC, amongst other things. And so finally, just to make a comment, Co-Chair, grateful for the continued consideration of involving the relevant stakeholders more deeply in the conversations, and particularly keen to find opportunities to make it an interactive engagement where one can discuss issues rather than simply make statements. Thank you very much, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much. We hear you. Thank you very much. We will see you this afternoon in the open session. You're all invited for our last portion of our discussion, the adoption of the report. And I thank you very much. And we take note of your requests, all of them, and all your statements. We had this morning very important statements in many directions, and I think that is useful for our exercise. I now invite those that have already arrived as delegations to stay in the room as we wait 1 minute to transition to a closed session. Thank you. evening or morning to all of you online and here in Geneva. We'll now proceed to consideration of agenda item 5, report of the meeting. So we have in front of us a proposal for language on reporting what we have done. It was a very productive meeting that we had this week. And I invite you to examine paragraph 1 and see if we could green paragraph 1 of our report. No objection, so let's green it. Paragraph 2, we are summarizing a meaningful intervention by the Director General, highlighting some of the topics that he shared with us. Is there agreement? Can we green that? Paragraph 3. So it's the run of our deliberations. We had the deletion of agenda item 3 because there was no request for an inclusion of any new relevant stakeholder for Annex D and or E. And then we are saying which sessions were either open and closed. Any comments or suggestion or objection to paragraph 3? If not, let's green it. Moving on to paragraph 4. We dealt during our deliberations at the very beginning with the what we had agreed to, subject to consultation and confirmation, to see if we could allow, as a pilot, the relevant stakeholders to observe the discussions of the IGWG. And then we had this manifestation for a preference to maintain the modalities of engagement with the relevant stakeholders as had been agreed at IG1 in our organizational meeting. Meanwhile, as Bureau, we were encouraged to continue to explore ways to ensure meaningful engagement with relevant stakeholders. Can we, are in a position to green paragraph 4? Thank you. Paragraph, it's better to gavel without any, obviously we're operating before we close the session, anything can be said, but we're trying to proceed here with paragraph 5. Speaks on the main topics that were discussed, having as a basis the draft PABS annex text that was developed by the IGWG upon request, as mandated by the previous IGWG, developed by the Bureau. And then there was, here we are reflecting what was the discussion on how it was done. It was on screen, but there were some that were making the point that we should maybe wait for convergence to exist in order to maximize our time and gain efficiency in our deliberations. So that was part of this, reflects this kind of ideas that were, which suffers in our deliberations. And we also discussed how best to continue our discussions in order to find a common understanding during the intersessional period, and but also knowing that we will have to continue to address formally the drafting of the annex. So this is a summary of our deliberations. Obviously, the main part of the deliberations took place around the proposed draft annex text. Can we green paragraph 5, please? 6. As we spoke about sessional period, we will then organize, but subject to still circulating to the IGWG members, the format, the topics, and the precise calendar. We noticed in our deliberations that the month of November has important events going on at the same time. Some delegations are also concerned about not having parallel meetings at the same time. So this will be circulated as a proposal before we organize those interactive, focused, informal dialogues. Are you in a position to green paragraph 6, please? Close and then invite. We can close. At some point, we'll be closing the meeting, but we still need to allow the DG and others to speak. But that the report will then, in paragraph 7, indicate that we adopted the report, and we, in due course, will, as co-chairs, close the meeting. So this is what paragraph 7 will say in our report. So it's time when we proceed to the last item of our agenda, which is the closing of our session under item 6. And with that, I have the honor to invite the Director General to address to us from Brazil, Belém, where he is attending Conference of the Parties number 30 of the Climate Change Convention, and the discussions also around the Paris Convention on climate change. Mr. Director General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, Co-Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, proceed, please.
And can you see me as well?
Yes, I don't see you in summer clothes, though.
Yeah, it's smart casual, but we had a family photo today, so I wanted to have a formal look. So greetings to you, Ambassador Tovar, from your beautiful country, from Belém. So greetings, our co-chair also, Matt Harper, our vice chairs, Ambassador Dlamini, Dr. Hanan, Dr. Viroj, and Madeline, honorable members of the IGWG, excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. Good morning from Brazil, and I'm sorry I can't be with you in person. As you know, I'm here for the COP30 Leaders Summit, where WHO is working to make health much more prominent in climate change negotiations. As you know, the best argument we have for climate change is actually health. People understand when we tell them that asthma in children is increasing, cardiovascular disease is on the increase, and malaria and dengue are invading new places. So I think using the health argument will be, continuing to use the health argument will be very important. And indeed, there are many similarities between what's happening here in Belém and what's happening there in Geneva. Like climate change, the threat of pandemics is a shared threat that demands a shared response. Like the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the pandemic agreement will be a powerful instrument of international law and a powerful testament to multilateralism. And like the negotiations here at COP30, I know the negotiations there in Geneva are not easy. I know that differences remain and that they have you have much hard work ahead of you to bridge those differences. But you're doing the most important thing, that's talking to each other and listening to each other. Thank you for the spirit of open and frank dialogue that you have shown this week. It is that spirit that gives me confidence that not only will you meet the deadline, but you will deliver a PABS system that's operational, functional, and most importantly, that saves lives. My thanks also to the Bureau for its steady leadership. On behalf of the entire WHO Secretariat, I reaffirm our full support for your work. Together, we're shaping a framework that will help to make the world safer when, not if, the next pandemic strikes. Because in the end, solidarity is our best immunity. My thanks to you all once again, and I wish you a safe journey home. And thank you, and Co-Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. Please enjoy my country. So before we proceed to a formal closure of the session, I'd like to invite the members of the Bureau to address a few words if they wish. That has not been rehearsed. So sorry to get you off guard if you want to. But if not, Matt, I think you would like to address. But please, Ambassador Dlamini, Dr. Viraj, Madeleine, Dr. Hanan, I don't know if she's following online, maybe. But I just don't want to assume that there is nothing to be said. We see also the flag of Zimbabwe. But please allow Zimbabwe us to just thank all of you for being here with us, especially the interpreters that are so kind to stay extra time with us until now, so that all of us could listen also to the intervention by the DG. And Zimbabwe, would you like to speak right away so that before we proceed to the formal thank you notes and addresses? Go ahead, Zimbabwe.
Many thanks, Co-Chair. Just to say, Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Zimbabwe is honored to deliver this closing statement on behalf of the 47 member states of the WHO Africa region, plus Egypt, Sudan, Somalia, and Libya. At the onset, the African member states extend sincere appreciation to the Bureau, the co-chairs, and the WHO Secretariat for working diligently to make IGWG 3 successful. We also commend all delegations for their engagement and dedication throughout this intensive week of negotiations. Chair, the African member states have approached these discussions with unity, constructive spirit, and an unwavering commitment to achieving a PABS annex that delivers genuine equity and accountability. We recognize the progress achieved, but we must also be clear. The African region is determined to make a concrete and meaningful PABS annex. In this regard, equity must be operational, enforceable, and measurable. We envision a PABS system that ensures that all PABS materials and sequence information flow exclusively through the system, underpinned by robust traceability and legally binding benefit-sharing obligations. Any loophole risks undermining trust and repeating the inequities witnessed during COVID-19 pandemic. The region calls for clear legal triggers for benefit sharing at both the fate and pandemic stages, with real-time product allocation and guaranteed technology transfer, among others. The PABS system must be governed by clear terms and conditions. We further stress that the outcome of the PABS annex must contribute to strengthening research and development capacity and strengthening local and regional manufacturing, which is a critical agenda. Noting the limited time available to us, we encourage the use of inter-sessional period to hold informals to address the sticky issues and foster convergence. As we conclude this round, the African member states reaffirm our determination to engage constructively but also resolutely. We will work towards a balanced, fair, and implementable text that truly operationalizes the principles of equity, solidarity, and shared responsibility. We look forward to engaging further in informal consultations through including through stakeholder consultations. We see this negotiation as an opportunity to foster a new era of fairness and trust in global health and strengthen the central role of WHO as enshrined in its constitution. We only have two formal meetings remaining before submission of the text to the Health Assembly in May 2026, and Africa assures that we will continue to negotiate in good faith, upholding the principle of equity. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Malaysia, please.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to first express our appreciation for the Bureau's efforts in putting together the draft text and for giving Member States the opportunity to further provide textual inputs this entire week. As the co-chairs have well noted, the text has been very much enriched and contains many constructive ideas that will help guide our work in the coming months. We do recognize that there is a significant amount of work ahead of us, particularly during the intersessional period, to deepen and bridge our collective understanding of the PABS system. For our delegation, we have consistently emphasized the importance of reaching agreement on the modalities, legal nature, terms and conditions, and operational dimensions of the PABS system, all of which should be clearly developed and agreed upon in the annex. What we are doing is establishing a new system, and it's therefore essential that the details are very carefully defined and understood. We also note that during this week's informal discussions, some areas were identified as operationally feasible, but somehow politically difficult for certain members. We must find balanced and pragmatic ways forward that respect both operational realities and political considerations. We further note the references to the Convention on Biological Diversity decisions, which recognize the differing nature, use, and value of digital sequence information. However, we underscore CBD decision deals with DSI already publicly accessible, where states or international organizations like the WHO do not claim benefits separately. This should not be confused with sequence information that would be generated from materials under the scope of the PABS system. How and where it be stored, handled, made accessible, and used thereafter. CBD decisions do not preclude us from developing an access and benefit sharing system for PABS sequence information. We reiterate that access and benefit sharing is a well-established principle, firmly grounded in international law and practice. We must also ensure that the system reflects the ethical foundations that underpin ABS, including fairness, equity, transparency, solidarity, and respect for national sovereignty. Finally, Malaysia reaffirms our constructive engagement in this purpose, and we remain committed to advancing a text that in its spirit and purpose will deliver a safe, accountable, beneficial, and transparent PABS system for all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malaysia. We have now exhausted not only our regular time with the interpreters, but actually the very graceful and extra time. So I know some of you might have wanted to make statements, but we are forced to interrupt the session benefiting from interpretation, while I invite Matt to address a few words before we proceed to a formal closure of this session. Matt, please.
Thanks so much, Ambassador Tovar, and thank you so much to the interpreters for all your work throughout the week. I'll be very brief. I want to thank IGWG members for the rich discussion we have had throughout this week. You can see the amount of preparation that has gone into everybody's input, and we're extremely grateful. Thank you so much to the Director General and all his team here at WHO, particularly to the Secretariat for their support this week and in advance of this week. Thank you to our relevant stakeholders for all your input and all you do. And we very much look forward to continue to work together and make further progress post this week, both intersessionally and at the next IGWG in December. But wishing you all a good journey back for those travelling home. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So with these words that are those of the entire Bureau, we declare this, we close formally this session.